Erev Tov. Welcome back as we continue our journey of these 49 steps of the Omer, linking Pesach, which is feeling far away right now, to Shavuot, which is also feeling kind of far away. Acknowledging we've been liberated from Mitzrayim, from the narrow place. At the edge of the entrance, going into Midbar, into the wilderness, into the expanse. Not really sure what lies ahead. But for now, as we do each day, we continue the process. We take our breaths. We ground ourselves in this moment, in this time, as we honor each step along the way. And we prepare to count. And so we bless. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu, al sefirat haomer. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign spirit of the universe, who brings us holiness with the mitzvot and connects to us with the counting of the Omer. Hayom, Arba'a ve'esrim yom, shehem shlosha shavuot, u'shlosha yamim ba'omer. Today is 24 days, which is 3 weeks and 3 days of the Omer. Tiferet shebenetzach, a day of compassion in a week of perseverance. This last interface we have between compassion, as we drop that in to our container this week of perseverance. So some years ago, I was teaching in a synagogue school in a suburban community south of San Francisco. And I was teaching some electives as part of my curriculum, and it was for like 12 to 15-year-olds. And I wrote this module, the 7-8 session module of the Kabbalah of Jewish identity. And I actually used our sifrot. I used actually these very same bottom 7 sifrot. I was actually somewhat familiar with them, as you can imagine, to use as a hook, a way to explain with chesed. You know, what at one point I think I talked about again what it is, what does identity mean to you? Strength, maybe in ritual. Foundation, we talked about questioning. What does it mean to question? That's the foundation of how we learn. Those kinds of things. And when I taught perseverance, I taught it through the lens of anti-Semitism. We discussed what it meant. How does it manifest? I had some varying exercises we did. And one exercise, since I can find it, that I like to do with them is I would give them a list, I made up a timeline of varying events in Jewish history where Jews were either, and I even make them a list, let's see, forced conversion, expulsion, take all ransom, all property. We're an identifying symbol, all these things. And I made up this timeline and I said, okay, so, here are these symbols, go through this and mark them as which one does it matter? And I did that just so they would actually read through them. You can see I started in the middle. Where did I start? I started at year 400. And I kind of went through, different places. I did France, I have Vienna, Wrocław, England, just get them through, just to let them see that this is a part of our history that cannot be denied. It exists, right? If anyone got through, I held it for a certain amount of time and then we stopped. I stopped actually right before Shoah because I didn't want that to enter into this. It was always interesting if anyone got up to Ulysses S. Grant because they didn't even think about anti-Semitism in this country. And I wanted them to feel what it was. And we would talk about why. Why did this happen? What was it that made this happen, that, we were expelled, we were moved, we would, And one thing that I would bring out and we would come to is part of it was what I wanted to teach them is that we were an other for whatever reasons that we could discuss. We were other and people were scared of the other. And that's what happened to us. And that is one root of anti-Semitism. And then the next week, I would talk about, I would bring up Tiferet. I would talk about compassion. And I would bring up the Jewish role in the civil rights movement. I will say it was shocking to me to find out how many 12 to 15-year-olds, and this was, 8, 9, 6, 7 years ago, how much they didn't know about the civil rights movement was a little shocking, beyond like who Martin Luther King was. But so I would teach, and with thanks and respect to Jewish Women Archives, who brought a lot of this curriculum to me and made me able to teach it, and I am forever grateful for them. And actually from their archives, it was great. And I would teach them. Was it great? It was great to be able to share Abraham Joshua Heschel with Martin Luther King. My legs were praying. And I love to be able to show them a youth group, Nifty, marching. And how can I resist any excuse to show one of my favorite photos of all time, the Emma Lazarus Foundation of Jewish Women's Clubs in the March on Washington. And I would talk about, we would talk about, so I'd say, there was certainly 50% of the freedom riders who went down there were Jewish. Why was this? And what is it about there were so many Jews who felt the need to go and be part of that movement? And one of these things that, again, I would want, I would teach them, I would hear things from them, but where I was leading and what I wanted to give to them was that because we knew, as we learned last week, the week before, that this happened to us because we were other. And part of the teaching in that for us is that we have to make sure that that no one is considered other and discriminated because they are other. And that is part of the draw. It is part of who we are. It is in our teaching. It is what we do. It is just part of our history and our life and our culture and who we are as a people. And what we teach as a spiritual pursuit. And that was, that was the compassion part of the perseverance, that everyone gets to persevere. And we look to others and help them persevere through our lens of compassion. But there is, in my years now of being more aware of social inequities in a huge way, with my interaction with Glide, with my trip with Glide in the kitchen to Alabama. Glide Memorial Church is down in the Tenderloin in San Francisco. It also has a social justice foundation. They do so many things to help that area of the Tenderloin. There's so many people living on the street on drugs, having no resources at all, and they provide those resources with unconditional love in a way that I have never experienced and seen before. And to be able to tap into that is a blessing in my life. And through my work with Glide, as I help serve the 3 meals a day that they serve every day, and they continue to serve right now. And with Glide and my Jewish community, the kitchen, I'm going to Alabama, Montgomery, Alabama, to see the museum that the Equal Justice Initiative, the Brian Stevenson created as a history and an understanding, trying to teach what it meant, what slavery, what happened, what was there, and how it impacts us today. And the memorial to those who were killed in the social and the racial terror lynchings. And I can only hope, and I will add a different add of compassion in there. Because I do worry at that time that when I taught it, it was more of, gee, weren't we great that because we know we were other, we now bring that to others and we bring it to them. And that was the lens. And I will say, I know I taught them about things, and I know I taught them about what it was like. But I know now that we need to remember that, that it's not about us. That we live in this earth with other people, and we reach out because we all need to persevere. Because if some do and some others, the world is not in balance. So on this day of compassion, when we drop that into our bucket of perseverance and what it means to move forward, again, it is, keep saying it in different ways, but yes, the compassion, we need to remember that as we do this, it's not just for us. But I think, and again, especially in this time, we are really being reminded that we are now in this century truly a global society. And we all get to honor ourselves with the understanding that we need to honor each other. Lila Tov, and I'll see you tomorrow.